So she was sick from probably 99 to 2003, a second relapse with the disease, and passed away in 2003. And about 6 months after that, I started experiencing what I thought were physical ailments. I was having dizziness, and I thought I had the flu all the time, and you know, I spent probably 2-3 weeks basically in bed. But I was afraid to even acknowledge it, you know. I wouldn't have even, frankly, once we did diagnose it, I certainly wasn't sharing it with people. And it was a huge obstacle for me, and one that makes the depression and anxiety worse. The shame, the guilt, and then you start becoming panicky about being panicked. And well, when you can talk to people about it, you just say it is what it is. I'm feeling a little panicky, or I'm feeling a little down, and then you talk it out, and you don't have that extra layer of I guess, the stigma. Thankfully, I had Alex, who suggested to me early in the process that this could be something that I may need to talk to a psychiatrist about, and not my GP. I think there was something kind of ingrained in me that needed to be shattered, and watching Alex suffer through what I was going through, ultimately I think shattered that and said, we got to look at everything. And we have to talk, and we do, and our kids certainly will have the benefit of learning about what I've been through and what Alex has been through, and it's just not going to be, it's not going to be the same anymore in our family, put it that way.
So I think it started when I got in 4th grade or something. I got in trouble, but I lied to the teacher, and that really bugged me. So 3 weeks later, I couldn't take it anymore, so I just told my parents, and that's what pretty much started it all. It was my great-grandpa. At my exact age, he had anxiety, and he couldn't go to school. He missed a whole year of school, but in that time, they didn't know what it was, and they didn't understand why he couldn't go to school. When I'm anxious and when I couldn't go to school, I was scared to going back to school because I was scared from my friends to asking me questions and asking what I had, and I didn't want them to know because I thought they weren't going to accept that. I thought they wouldn't like me anymore because I had anxiety or something. Well, I thought myself if I had cancer, they would have accepted it, but it's not that. They accept anything you have, really. If they're your real friends, they like you for who you are. But I didn't realize that back then.
Yes, I had a lot of gifts in life, let's just say, in terms of sport and career. And at the same time, I kind of lived a dual life because I was also living in a violent relationship, and that led to post-traumatic stress disorder, a suicide attempt, and a pretty long path to finding some stability. It was my daughter witnessing one of my beatings that made me realize, wow, I have to do something about this. I'm getting more depressed, I'm getting worse. The assaults aren't stopping, the violence is getting worse. And so I decided to swallow 3 bottles of pills and tried to end it. And by some miracle, somebody found me and saved my life. Well, the discrimination that I personally experienced in the workplace, I think, is probably pretty common. There were comments made quite regularly about crazy people on stress leave, and then when it became clear that it was PTSD, well, it was depression, it was PTSD, I then was really stigmatized. And I happened to be passing around the corner, and my boss bumped into me, and I said, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And he looked at me, he says, "Lots to catch up on," and he ran away, and literally ran away, and never spoke to me again.
Depression takes the human out of being, takes the mother from the child, takes the happy out of family, takes the joy from the bundle, takes the life of another, and another, and another. Depression takes. We need you to give.
if you know Gord, you know that he's like really, really gregarious and outgoing, and he's very social, loves to go out, loves to hang out with friends. So he started having trouble sleeping, and he'd wake up early in the morning, go to work really early, and he also wasn't really eating, so he was losing weight. And then what really triggered it for me was when he wouldn't want to go out and see his friends. When it first, like the onset of his depression, it was definitely triggered by his mom's death, because he'd never displayed any symptoms before then. I encouraged him to go see someone, to talk to someone like a therapist, but I think at that point he was still a bit resistant and saw depression or mental illness maybe as a bit of a weakness, and didn't want to almost admit that it could be happening to him. And then I was at one of the breakfasts where you guys had done the videos, and there was a mother whose daughter had shock therapy, and I think she had tried to commit suicide or had suicidal thoughts. And I remember the mother said, you're only ever as happy as your saddest child. And that sort of made me think, I have children, and with Gord having the depression, it could easily be one of my children could have it. And if something could be done to help it, help people recognize the problem and treat it early, so it doesn't end up, with 13-year-olds committing suicide and things like that, would be nice.
I remember he was in grade 5 one morning, and he was just not feeling well. He was just not feeling well, and he said to me, he said, I wish I had cancer. That way there would be a cure, or somebody would know, there would be a name for what I have. And
when he came back from school, he wouldn't go out with friends. When the neighbors would come knock, Simone, want to come play outside? He'd just stay on the couch downstairs. Sometimes the TV would be on, sometimes it wouldn't. He'd just be sitting there.
At the end of September, he started, it was the worst of it that we'd seen. He wasn't able to go to school.
He just didn't go to school at all.
For about 6 weeks. Yeah, and the more school he missed, the worse it got, because then he'd have to explain why he wasn't in that day, and it took a long time for him to understand that what he had was legitimate, and he wasn't the only one. So
yeah, he's better, way, way better. This year it wasn't hard when he started school at all.
No. Even
when we came back from Christmas, it was fine, and he has friends over all the time, and sometimes he gets talks from teachers because he laughs too much in class or talks too much, but he does plays after school and year-end shows, and he's in school
productions,
and sports and things, and it's much better than before.
Mm-hmm.
My first experience with dealing with mental health issues was with my own mother, who suffered from paranoid schizophrenia and associated delusions for most of her adult life. She suffered for decades in an unhappy, deluded existence, trying to manage as well as she could. Almost daily, I am dealing with clients and files where mental health is an aspect to the problem. Not every one of my files, of course, but it's a problem that I'm keenly aware of and encounter almost daily. If employees are not assisted appropriately, I think there's a much greater toll in the workplace than is necessary. The main message for an employer who suspects that there may be a mental health issue, like any other health issue, is to make sure the employee understands the availability of sick leave and is encouraged to use it, to take advantage of it, and to address the problem. I think if there's any message for an employer, it's that, is to understand this is a health issue like any other. Employees are entitled to the benefit of their sick leave if they need it, and they are also entitled to some accommodation in the workplace to assist them in managing the health issue and still continuing to make a contribution, a real contribution often, to the employer's business.
My sister suffered from depression at a very young age, around 14. And of course, we didn't really know the extent of it until later, till she was about 18. I'm not sure when the actual first time was, but she definitely had made an attempt to commit suicide. After that attempt, I never thought, it would ever actually happen, right? It was sort of, I knew she was not well and very depressed at times, but I never thought it would come true.
She tried to go into nursing here in Ottawa, and she was living at home with us at the time. But, she'd make it so far, and then she couldn't do it anymore. Her depressions her mind just wasn't allowing her to do what she wanted to do, which was she wanted success so badly, but she just, the bipolar just wasn't, she was either, rapid cycling or, very depressed. You are just in constant pain. Like you ache so much for your child, who all you want for them is to be healthy and happy, and that just wasn't meant to be for Allison.